Hello, and I've done it again. I've done it again. It's in my head now. I've lost it.
I was just thinking about that as well.
Anymore. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, I don't fuck it up this week. Welcome to episode 203 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram. At 77 Club Podcast on Twitter. YouTube, please subscribe and tell a friend. And Spotify, 5 stars if you think it's worth it. Cheers.
And even if you don't, Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello, everyone.
And Jack Williams.
Good evening.
Right, well, managerless Wolves. Harry travelled to West Ham on Saturday. It was the evening kickoff. I think Jack said on the podcast last time out that, if we lose, Bruno could be gone by Monday morning. It turns out it would be Sunday afternoon. To begin with, we were setting up to fail because we thought, okay, the team's come out. That's pretty dreadful. And then the players pop up on the screen and they've got Neves playing in a 5 at the back. We're thinking that Sky got it wrong here, but it was the Wolves admin I think who got it wrong. Just talk us through that 5 at the back.
Well, yeah, we knew the pressure was on Bruno, and we was talking last podcast about how he's got to just risk Totti Gomez, put a centre half in there. I know we're light, but he's got to do it. So as soon as you see that team, and for one, he switched to a back 5, which this season was meant to be going away from that. And 2, he's played Johnny, who's a midget wing back, and Neves, who's our best midfielder, in the heart of the defence. And as soon as he does that, the pressure's on, and we have to win the game because he's took a huge risk and done something that you could have probably asked every single Wolves fan who support Wolves in the whole world, and not one of them would have picked that team. So straight away, and also not starting Costa, which obviously is down to fitness reasons, the pressure was on. And then as soon as we don't win the game after a selection like that, unfortunately, there was no other choice but to sack him. And I think they've made the right decision.
Bailey, so I guess you echo those sentiments. You're playing arguably your best player, out of position and in a formation that it just doesn't suit the team.
I just couldn't believe it. It didn't. I haven't spoken to anyone that thought it was a sensible decision yet, and I don't think I ever will. Take aside a bad game where we played people out of position to try and do something that never really looked like happening. The football's been so boring. It couldn't get much worse, could it? Costa sort of got himself about a bit when he came on. We had a good 20 minutes at the start, but same old Wolves, good 20 minutes. Then they score. Cheers, thanks, game over. We'll get on to the new manager, but staying on West
Jack,
Ham.
You were there at London Stadium. We'd mentioned what the atmosphere had been like at away games in the games leading up to West Ham, and that the fan base was starting to be quite split on the idea of Bruno still being in charge. What was the atmosphere like in London Stadium?
Pretty dreadful, to be honest with you. I think it was a case, especially after their first goal went in. I think when we spoke last week, we sort of said that, it was kind of 50-50 as to Bruno in, Bruno out, or maybe, 55-45. By the time the full-time whistle went in that ground, that away end was 95% Bruno out. He'd lost all credibility because he'd lost the plot, really. Playing your best player out of position, playing, Johnny at the back when you've got centre-backs who are sat on the bench. It was just mistake after mistake, and even like the substitutions, taking Nunes off and bringing on Chem Campbell, or these sorts of things. He just completely lost the plot, and the atmosphere reflected that. Really, everyone was just knew the story. I agree. We probably, up until they scored, we were probably the better team, but again, it's the same old thing. We were the better team. We had more of the ball, but didn't look like scoring, and everyone walking away from that at the end of the game was deflated, and he had to go because he completely lost the crowd. Then, how many goals we scored this season? 3. Is it 3?
3.
That's relegation form, isn't it? It's worse than relegation form. It's derby form. So you've got to do something about it sooner rather than later. And I think it's kind of just clear, really, by the reaction of him after the game, of the players after the game, and the players on social media after he's been sacked. I think he's just lost the dressing room and lost the plot. And if you are like a Yerson Mosquera or a Totti Gomez, and you're thinking, okay, now's my chance now, the first choice centre-back's out injured, and you play your most creative midfielder at the back instead of you getting a game, there's no point you being here. I said last week. So no, he had to go. Completely lost the plot. We've given him enough chances, and you can be understanding in the fact that he didn't have his squad in place. But now he has had players. He hasn't utilised them properly. He hasn't got motivated. And as I said last week, I don't like looking at things sort of between seasons. But if you do look at the big picture from the end of last season to the start of this season, it's woeful. It's just awful, isn't it? Let's be honest. So, yeah, good riddance.
And Harry, what do you think it does to people like Totti Gomez and Yerson Mosquera? Because we were sort of saying that there's no point in them being here last week if they weren't going to play. They didn't play. But I don't think any of them had done anything wrong in the minutes that we've seen, either in cup action or in a pre-season or in a couple of minutes, definitely, that Totti played last season, that would mean that they couldn't be trusted to go into the starting 11. And, obviously they're not first choice, but when you've got suspensions, let alone any injuries that might crop up into defence, then they should be playing. But do you think it's more that they're not ready, or is it that Bruno, like Jack has said, has lost the plot?
I think he lost the plot. I think he didn't trust them, even though, like you mentioned, especially Totti had a good few games for us in January. Maybe he was trying to send a message to the board again about him not bringing in a centre-back, which he did want, to be fair to him. It fell through, didn't it, that one free transfer? But still, put Totti in there. The fans would have understood. Even if Totti had had a howler and we'd have lost 2-0, then fans are like, well, fair enough. We're a bit short in that centre-back area. Our squad's not the strongest in that area. And we probably would have got away with it, probably. But it was that team selection that was the final nail in the coffin. And if I was those players, I'd be glad he's been sacked. If I was Totti and Yerson, I'd be like, good riddance, because they'll probably be thinking a new man will give him more of a chance than he was going to, because he's got his favourites, hasn't he? Or we just don't trust people on the fringe. And it's ultimately cost his job, that selection.
And you can't get away with it in a small squad, can you? Dan, I suppose to score a goal, you've got to try and actually shoot at it. I was so angry at Aït-Nouri in that first half, where he had the chance to just absolutely leather it on his favoured left foot and just completely flunks it.
I don't know what they're scared of. When you look at how different managers play styles of football, Bielsa, perfect example. I'm sure we're going to talk about him later. Get forward, attacking football, try and outscore the opposition. We seem to have the reverse. It's like Paul Lambert football, but more boring. It's shocking. I can't understand why we've clearly got a set of attacking players that are high quality footballers, right? I think no one can deny that. Fair enough, we're lacking a striker, but still, we've got some decent players there. How are we only scoring 3 goals? How are we creating so few chances? Not just shots on target or shots in the game or possession. They're all great, but proper football chances, we have so few of them. That's what I hope I see change. That's what, when we come on to manager, it's got to be someone that wants to score goals in football. Because Lage didn't, did he?
No. Jack, I felt sorry for Podence, the size of him being played out of position again, and you just knew every time there was a ball whacked up the field, you were just like, I heard it. There were Wolves fans in the pub watching it with us, going, well, he ain't going to fucking head that, is he? And he isn't, because he is too small to play up front.
I mean, I think one of the good things we saw is, even though when Costa came on for 20 minutes, is he had a header. I know he missed it, but he had a chance, didn't he? He won a header in the box that went just wide of the post.
Good cross as well.
And that's the kind of thing that we've been missing, really. So maybe now we will have a bit more of an aerial presence, because we just don't know what's going on with Jimenez, do we? Is he? How long is he out for? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be 3 months? But I really don't know.
Might not even make the World Cup. That's the latest.
Yeah. That was the latest, wasn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Jack, at what point do the club have to see some common sense and bring back Fabio Silva?
I don't think they can. I think they would have already, to be honest with you. But I think it was whether they can do it in January and there's a recall, or whether it's the whole season. I don't know, but it's not as simple as just being able to recall it, because they should have done it 3 weeks after they sent him, to be honest. But yeah, I think they would have if they actually could have. But I still think it is good for Fabio's development, really. And the only reason we're having this conversation is because we're just players light again, where we shouldn't be, really, for a Premier League football club. But whoever the new man is who comes in, there's problems there. There's some talent there. I agree, Dan. There's some talent there, but there's many years now of playing under sort of very defensive football, and that you need to get out of them. And obviously the squad being too small. So it's a very good job if you get it right. I'm sure Nuno would say that for the first few years he was here. It can be brilliant, but it's not going to be easy at the same time.
I think there's also an element of Bruno coming out sort of back end of last season when it all started to go wrong, probably actually West Ham away in that case, where he said the attitude of players wasn't great. And I think he pointed at Fabio more or less indirectly a little bit. And I think what we've got to remember is that Fabio, for whatever reason, wasn't the answer to our questions when we had no strikers last season, when Jimenez wasn't available. And there's no reason now to point to the fact that he would be the answer this time round. But like I say, I think it's because, like Jack said,
Sam, at his age, 6 months can change you.
True. That's true. That's true. And yeah, a little bit of, I suppose, confidence will come into it as well. If you're scoring goals in front of anybody, you know. But Harry Pedence was speaking to Sky Sports today, say we needed something new or a different way to do things. Players were not doing so good at the training sessions, at the matches. Something had to change. If the club realised the boss had to go, we have to accept it. So I mean, I don't think there's any love lost there, and I don't think you particularly say that they weren't on the best of terms, Pedence and Bruno. But obviously, there is that feeling in the squad.
Yeah, and all the stories that have come out after as well. It always seems to flood out, doesn't it? The rumours of players not liking the team meetings. Conor Coady with what he's been doing on social media. Well, his family more. Ruddy's said a few bad things about Bruno. Sace, Bolly. I think he just lost the dressing room a bit, and I think his man management wasn't respected at all. And yeah, we had a half decent season last year, apart from when we fell off towards the end. And Pedence saying that just says it all. And I know no players, I don't know if they've been told not to do it, but no players have come out and thanked Bruno either, which speaks volumes, really, doesn't it? So yeah, it was time for change. And although we were banging on to give him a chance, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And if you believe what you're reading now, it wasn't very good on the training pitch. And I think Bruno definitely lost his way, which he did at Benfica too, didn't he? Had a good start there, then eventually lost his way. I just think he needs to improve his man management. He's probably a good coach. Well, debatably, I don't know. He can't get us into the box, gets us passing it around. But man management side, it just seems to be lacking hugely from him.
Maybe that's what it is. He seems like one of these coaches who is very technical on the detail. And obviously, when you really that into them at first, it's all new and exciting. But if that's coupled a year later with bad results and no actual proper man-on-man coaching there, then you can see why people are going to get frustrating. And, you know, things like calling out individuals in press conferences after the game, I doubt that goes down very well in the dressing room sometimes, even though when it's Yana Hoover who's completely correct. But, you know, there's been a few instances of him naming individuals, hasn't known calling them out afterwards. And, you know, that's going to travel around the dressing room. If it was your best mate in the team who's done that too, it's going to be like, you know, it sounds like being at school, isn't it, really? You're going to just eventually turn against the teacher or whoever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the attention is turned to who is next. It's a question that we asked on the podcast last week, and those same names were going around again. Harry, Lopetegui is top at 1 to 5. It looks like he's going to be sacked by Sevilla if he hasn't already. Again, shopping in the market potentially for sack managers, but this is football. You'd be hard pushed to find a manager managing at the top that has never been sacked. Is this just very good timing and actually a little bit of luck that we needed?
Well, we're recording this on Wednesday night, and I think he's managing their last game, Sevilla's last game. So he'll be gone. And he's been on Fosun's radar for a while, hasn't he? I think we tried to get him before we got Wenger. It was, wasn't it? Just Zenga. As Fosun took over, but then he took the Spain job. And he obviously his pedigree, his stats and what he's won and things like that are incredible.
He won the Europa the year they knocked us out, didn't he?
Yeah, and there's that picture, isn't there, of him like hugging Neves, and I think he gave Neves his debut, didn't he, as well, back in the day. So I hear, but he plays with like 4 at the back. I saw a good thread on Twitter actually, and I wish I could name the person now, but they just said like his tactics. He loves wing backs in a 4, plays 2 holding midfielders. So we've got the players to play the way he wants. Whether our players can do it is another question, because Bruno wanted to play a certain way and they couldn't adapt to that style. But he's the main contender. I think it will be him. Other names have been mentioned, like the Celtic manager who's. Yeah, go through some of the names. Some of them I can't even pronounce. So
Lopetegui, is that the pronunciation?
Lopetegui?
That's the one we just mentioned. Lopetegui.
Are you sure you want to read these out?
I can't pronounce any of these.
Sean Dyche.
Ruben Armorin.
This is brilliant.
I'm going to struggle really hard. This is
Yes,
gonna be difficult.
yes.
9-1. AVB is
Yeah.
16-1.
Or what's his actual name? AVB.
Andre
Yes,
Villas-Boas.
Very good. Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Carlos Carvajal, 18s.
You know, Carvajal. Bruno was his number 2 at Sheffield Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
So no then.
Yeah. Hopefully
no,
not.
yeah.
That's
Brendan
everything
Rodgers, Sean Dyche, and another one I can't. Jesus,
should try.
Why
You
did I
definitely
offer to do this?
I don't know.
It's probably the Celtic manager. I can't pronounce his name either, but I
Sergio
doubt we'd get him.
Concheo. I'm going to go with that. All of them are 20-1. Bo Svensson, thank God, 22-1.
Isn't he going?
And then
going somewhere
Eusebio De Francesco, 22-1.
Right, it's a strong
Linked
finish
with him before.
Interestingly, a good stat I saw from Mark White on Twitter. If it is Lopetegui, then out of the last 100 managers in the Premier League, the only 2 former goalkeepers will have managed Wolves. So there you go. 'Cause obviously, Nuno was a goalkeeper as well. Very interesting stat.
Did you see the rumor that the Forest manager might come to us?
Where's that come from?
I don't know, but I said to Sam, the amount we drink on a match day, looking over at the bench and seeing him with them eyes, we'd be going mental. We'd think he's been on the piss of us all game.
I've been having a chat with a Forest fan, weirdly, just before we recorded, and he said no chance. They don't want to sack him. Apparently, all the fans absolutely love him. So
I think it's more likely that they'll sack their head of recruitment because it's really not paying off. I know we're not that far into the season, but I think
it's
probably
Gibbs White's getting pelters, isn't he?
That's what I was going to say. It looks like
on
they're
Twitter yet, or saying they're interested. Yeah, maybe it's him. Maybe he's the problem. Yeah, I think they're like. Yeah, I think the amount of times I saw the phrase "pulled our pants down" from the Forest fans over that fee. I mean, I don't think we'll be getting the add-ons. Do you get that sneaking suspicion that we might not be getting the full 45?
I think they'll play him. I don't think they'll stay up. I don't know how much the money's on staying up.
I think the Champions League was mentioned in the add-ons.
I think
not Champions.
The funniest tweet, Sam. The funniest tweet was some Forest fan tweeted, if Morgan Gibbs White would spend more time on his first touch and not going shopping for designer clothes of his missus, he might actually be a decent player.
And it's true. We know this. Who would everybody like? I mean, for me, it's Lopetegui all day. The pedigree, top 4 finishes, consecutive seasons, the Europa League. To me, that's a no-brainer. Harry, for you?
Yeah, that seems like the fit. But whoever it is, I just hope they get us into the box, like attacking. I don't want it to be come in, switch to. I know they probably can't because we ain't got the defenders, but I want to see us completely go for it and just try and attack in games and do what Bruno couldn't basically. I know it's easier said than done, but that's what we need. We don't want it to be really defensive and be bored out of our head again. So hopefully this fella can be the one.
Jack, for you?
Yeah, I agree. I like to think that they didn't just sack Bruno because of the result on Saturday. I think there's only a good. You can only really sack your manager if you've got something lined up. And the fact that I don't think it's been going too great for him at Seville lately, although obviously he has won major trophies with them.
They've lost players though. They've lost a lot of players.
Yeah. So I'd like to think that the reason or coming into the thinking of them sacking Bruno on Sunday was we can probably go and get the man we wanted for a few years now in this process. So we've got to take the chance. So I'd like to think that it's hopefully all but a done deal because there was talk about there's a pre-agreement being thrown about, wasn't there, on Twitter. So let's see what happens. I mean, they're playing right now in the Champions League, aren't they, Seville? So let's see what tomorrow brings. But yeah, I'd like to think that we're not going to end up with Steve Cooper anyway. Let's be honest.
And Dan, could you read out your top 5 in the order that
I can't. I haven't got it open, but I can pronounce them all. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah,
probably the greatest football brain of the last 20 years is who I want. Neil Warnock would be number 1.
Oh, for God's sake! Shut
retired.
I know he's retired. I'd love to watch Warnock football. I think I've recently had his book, and just the way
you need to stop this, Bayless. You need to stop what you're saying right now.
I know. I'm only joking, really. It worries me the whole sort of
Alan Kirbishley,
foreign name, no Premier League experience does worry me. It's sort of bitten us twice now, so that does worry me. Dyche, I mean, he never played pretty football with Burnley, did he? It was get some big uns and oof it about.
I mean, you
Rafa
mentioned
Benitez?
Bielsa earlier. To be fair.
Bielsa's been in a WhatsApp group with a few people. My cousin was saying Bielsa wants to see attacking football, and I sort of get the idea behind that. But the problem was his lead side might have scored 4, but they conceded 7. So
and with us, it'll be concede 7 and score 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Although at least we will have scored. So.
Bielsa, I wouldn't actually mind, but it looks nailed on now, doesn't it? The bookies don't go 5 on without having a serious idea that it's going to be him.
Apart from, I'm just going back on Bruno. Apart from the 2 games we mentioned last week, Man United away and Villa away, have any of you got any fond memories of him at all in the last 16 months? He didn't really attach himself to the fans, has he?
Villa away is the only one, and that wasn't the manager. That was just because of
sheer
circumstances.
Yeah, there was no master.
We looked absolutely terrible at 2-0 down.
We did. Man United away was
brilliant.
Yeah, very, very good. And he came out afterwards and gave his reasoning for the tactics, and he was like, "Yeah, it was spot on."
That was the thing, Sam. At first, his press conferences and interviews, I loved them. I suppose because we were winning. But then when we started losing, going on mad runs, some of his press conferences have been so bizarre lately.
Yeah.
Which I found another reason why he should have gone.
I mean,
maybe
he was
that game away.
Sorry,
go on, Dan.
No, all I was going to say was a couple of decisions and bad press conferences away from being the Seagulls following the trawler Cantona style.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty close.
It's weird. I don't get what happened. He definitely lost the dressing room, didn't he? Because it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
What you say,
all I was adding. Sorry, Jack.
I was just going to say maybe that game away at Southampton. Like, they played quite well then, didn't we? If we're trying to look at decent moments. We know when
Jimenez first goal back.
Yeah, Jimenez scored that goal. But, the fans were behind him, particularly thinking back to probably February this year, all singing about Bruno's taking us to Europe, blah, 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 blah. And it's just died a death very quickly, that, didn't it, with our run to the end of last season. And people's patience runs out pretty quick. So it's just... Yeah, I just hope whoever comes in, I hope it's someone that can just give us a bit of excitement again, because scoring 3 goals in 7-8 Premier League games, whatever it is, it's just what's the point? It's just boring, isn't it? It was a chore to go on Saturday. I'll be honest. The best point of the day was the Chinese we had afterwards. And when you're paying a lot of money to travel across and mix that with the weather's getting colder, there's strikes, so it's harder for people to move about. People haven't got much patience really, and the least you want to do is when you paid all the money and had the trouble getting down there is be entertained, not just have a bit of tippy tappy about have one shot and then just roll over, which is what's been happening.
Who would seriously want to really? You've got to be a serious diehard to want to go to Palace away on a Tuesday night. Arse end of London, Tuesday night. There are loads of tickets left. Sorry, Jack, steal your thunder.
I was going to say,
Jack, did you stay for full time, Jack, or had you already left?
I stayed just because the bloke behind me was shouting at the people leaving. I didn't want him to shout at me.
There was big issues raised about Bruno and some of the players not coming over to clap as well, and he had to apologise for that, didn't he?
He didn't clap at all. He was just on centre circle, straight back out. Neves came over and got a little bit of light applause. Really, they didn't blame the players too much. Everyone was just on Bruno's back, and actually part of the reason I was sort of joking then about the people who were leaked. Some people left, 15, 20 minutes before the end, and were getting some stick for it. But I actually stayed because I wanted to boo. And that
you were scared. You've explained this.
No, but I
did want the man to shout at you.
I did want to make my feelings known because as soon as you're playing your best player, it's centre back. There's a centre back on the bench. Then I've had enough.
You with your mannerisms like David Mitchell. Fucking boo, boo.
I can sound quite aggressive when I want to. Don't worry.
Matron. Let's turn our attentions to Chelsea. Harry, it's obviously all set up to get a resounding win for James Collins and Steve Davis, who'll be taking charge, it looks like, of this game. Diego Costa will be 34 by the time this game comes around. So we haven't got our hopes pinned on a 33 anymore because he's about to turn 34. Do you think he will start the game? Should he start the game? And what do you reckon the rest of the 11 will look like?
He's got to start. And just firstly, on the lads taking over, is it Steve Davis and was it James Collins too? Yeah. Is one of them, I think it's Steve Davis, isn't he a massive Wolves fan as well?
Yes, I think that's
so. What correct. A great story that is! Like taking over a Wolves team away at Chelsea, you must be absolutely buzzing. But if I was them, probably going to be the only game they manage. I'd still go 4 at the back, even though we've got so many injuries. Like Neves out, Collins still out. Obviously, I think Nunes might be injured. I'm not sure about that one though. Obviously, Neto, we don't know, but I'd still go four at the back. 4-2-3-1. Diego Costa leading the line. Play the new Traore in the middle. Bring Totti in and just say, lads, bloody go for it. We're expected to lose. Take the shackles off and have a shot. Get into the 18-yard box. The Wolves fans will start having orgasms in the away end. They'll go, man. If you get into that box, they'll have orgasms at away end. You'll be a hero. So just do it.
Jack, one thing I will say is that when Costa came on, it was so refreshing to see somebody pick up the ball nicely in midfield, lay it off, and then run into the box. I was like, Harry, look, he ran in the box.
So just dribbling.
Yeah, he was there in the corner of the pub having an orgasm.
I mean, he didn't stay outside the box just in case he could flick it on again in a minute when it came back to him after going out wide, then going back around, and going back around, and going back around, and then we put a ball in that hits the corner flag.
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, Costa's going to be up for it, and he's going to want to come in and prove a point against his old club. Whether he's ready or not, I don't know. But the question again is then, who do we play? We don't have a striker who's available. Do you say Neves is suspended, isn't he? Did you already mention that?
Yeah, he's out. Yeah.
So that's good, isn't it? It's Collins' second game of his ban. So, like Harry said, really, there's no expectation here now, is there? Because we're not expecting to win. If anything, we should really get battered. What the funny thing will be if it turns out to be the most exciting performance that we put in many a game, which could happen because every Wolves player now is going to have a point to prove. The new manager in waiting is going to be watching it, aren't they? So, and they can go out and play with no fear, and they know the crowd are actually going to be behind them, really, to be honest, because they're not going to be thinking about Bruno. Just going to have a crack at it. So, I still think we're going to get battered, but as long as we have a go, I don't care. So,
remember when they sacked Mick McCarthy and Terry Connor was in charge, and then I think we were 2-0 down to Newcastle, and we pulled it back 2-2. We thought, oh hello, and then lost every game. Bayliss, for you, is it Boubacar Traore comes in for Neves and Totti?
I just don't know. What can we do? Got no defender and the best player we've got, so chuck the best 11 players out there and get past it and get a new manager.
Do you want the manager's job?
Fantastic commentary.
Cheers,
Cammy.
Just go and score more goals than them and we'll win.
Take it seriously. This has got to be a write-off, hasn't it? We're missing two decent players. We haven't got a manager. We can't score anyway. And we're playing a team that are pretty decent top 4 contenders away. Just don't get anyone. No more injuries, no more red cards.
Can you remember when we drew 2-2 with them last year and Coady equalised?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you remember, Bruno Lage was out with COVID and Tony Roberts was basically the manager that day.
Yes.
And he's going to be on the touchline, isn't he? He's the only one who's stuck around out of the coaching staff. So maybe that's a good sign. Even though he won't be leading it, it'll be that Davis, won't it? Probably. But yeah, bit of a good luck charm, Tony Roberts sticking around. Although he has deleted Twitter. So maybe he's been a bad boy. Yeah. Remember how controversial he was on Twitter? He's like liking tweets about people saying bring Nuno's home here in pre-season and things like that. And now he's deleted it, so maybe he's been told to.
Yeah, deleting all social media. Jack, score prediction?
No idea. Hopefully we'll score 3-1 Chelsea.
Dan?
3-0 Chelsea.
Harry?
4-1 Wolves.
Good son, good Xavi. Obviously I'll go 2-1 Wolves. Let's get your latest betting odds and ticket news.
Obviously Wolves are a great price if you are as optimistic as Harry. 8-1 just to win.
Oh my god!
What would score?
I haven't got that, but I did a few scorecasts.
Yeah,
this shows how little confidence the bookies have got in us. Firstly, I think we're going to lose 3-0. I can't see us scoring. Costa doesn't look fit enough yet. So 3-0, and Gallagher normally has a decent game against Wolves. So 3-0 Chelsea. Gallagher first goal is only 45-1.
It's pretty short.
2-1 Wolves. Traore first goal 200-1.
Oh, there it is. Pay for the holiday.
And then, I mean, this is the most optimistic I'd ever get. A shithouse Wolves 1-0. Diego Costa with the goal. Yeah. Sometimes the fates align, don't they?
Yeah.
120-1.
I'm having that.
Stick it on.
And I did a little sort of pick your own bet thing based on, I was going to say 1-1. I was feeling a bit optimistic earlier. But if you go with a full-time result as a draw, under 2.5 goals, Nunes to score on over 10 corners in the game, 85-1.
Oh, that's not bad, champ. Good bet builder.
But with big prices, so if you have got any confidence in this, just go and pick what you want on a bet builder and you're going to get silly odds.
Excellent. It's a confidence police coming to get Dan. Jack, latest ticket news?
Yeah, so we'll start with the home games and the 6-pointer at home to Forest. There's a handful of tickets left for that one. Actually, very low availability for that one, probably because it's our best chance of a win, really, because they're just dreadful, aren't they? But there you go. I've said it now. There's a few more left for the Leicester game, which is a Sunday, 23rd of October, 2 o'clock kickoff, which I think I said last time is my least favourite kickoff time. So I'm not surprised that there's a few more left for that. Chelsea on Saturday is obviously sold out. And as Dan mentioned earlier, Close Shop FC, I knew just by the kickoff time and obviously where Crystal Palace is, it's a pain to get to. I think this ticket's basically just on sale to everybody now, at least all the members. There's a good few hundred left, isn't there? So anybody who wants a ticket for that, I reckon you'll have no trouble getting one. Whether they'll announce a full-on general sale window, I don't know, but you can definitely get one if you're a member. So there's your chance to go to an away game. Just so happens it's one of the least desirable away games in the worst place at the worst possible time.
I mean,
but
Jack, who wouldn't want to go to a midweek night game just outside of Croydon where you will definitely get stabbed?
Visit Croydon.
Yeah, I mean it's true, and it's just a pain to get to, isn't it? And obviously, if it rains and you're down the front, you're going to get wet. So it's like being in the North Bank, really. If you're North Bank and get down there, you won't know any different. But
Brush off the poncho.
So yeah, there's chances to go. Actually, you can tell we're doing badly because there's chances to go to pretty much every game there, and even the Chelsea game on Saturday. I've had so many people throwing tickets around because of the train strikes, and they now can't go, or they're trying to get rid of their tickets because they can't get down here because of that. Really, so there's chances to go all over the place if you want to go. But granted, you're probably just gonna have to sit and watch terrible football and watch us lose, like I've done for most of the season. So.
Many years. Perfect. Thank you for that. Conor Coady, Harry. The Telegraph broke it, I think, possibly on Wednesday evening, that Conor Coady's deal to Everton could be worth just £4.5 million. Lots of fans are calling to get him back from the loan whenever they can. That is a possibility. Firstly, do you think £4.5 million is enough? That's poor value from a Wolves point of view. And would you have him back?
I don't think £4.5 million is a very good deal for us at all. Fair play to Coady. He's done well there, hasn't he? At Everton, he started well. He's obviously scored the other day. I still think the move was right. It's not, we shouldn't have got rid of Bolly, really. We should have kept at least one of them, like Sace or Bolly. I think letting Coady move on was the right decision, going into a back four. I don't think he'll come back. I think he'll stay at Everton, especially with his social media activity. I think it was his sister we mentioned earlier, putting on a post saying what a weekend because he scored and Bruno got sacked. But there's probably a lot more to come out with why he left, and I think we kind of know why now. It's because he didn't like Bruno Lage. So I think he's staying at Everton. He lives in the area. I think it's pretty much agreed that he'll go at the end of the season. And fans wanting him back, I kind of get it, but some people got to move on. There was people calling for Nuno to come back as well. So there's just people who hang on to the past. I'm guilty of it sometimes, but they say never go back, don't they? And I just don't think we should get Coady back, or Nuno for that matter either.
Jack, what about you? Good value?
It's £4.5 million for an current England international is ridiculous. Who's also your club captain? Like I don't know.
It's not just the English tax, is it? It's the England tax.
It's just who's let that go through. Not just so much from a footballing point of view, or because he wanted the move, but just from a financial point of view. What's next? Should we just sell Neves for £500,000? Just sorted. But who's sanctioning that? It's just bizarre. And whoever's let that go through, they need to just go pack their bags with Bruno. I think, really, to be honest with you, on getting him back, I know he is still only on loan, and we could need him. We would need him in the squad at the moment, to be honest, because obviously we're a few players light. But I agree. Wolves fans, I think in general, but maybe it's all football fans. I don't know. They do find it hard to move on. It's like bring back Saka, bring back Afobe, bring back God knows who it was, Barry Douglas. Remember that? There's so much of it, isn't there, that just goes on like that. And I'm a firm believer in make your decision, don't look back, move forward, even if it's tough to start with. I think so. No, I think he's been great to us. It's been a great few years. Thank you, but we always used to take the piss out of his defending every week, so it's not great for a defender, is it? So,
Dan, finally from you.
Sorry, I totally missed that.
Oh, brilliant! Can I just say, just because we're on this topic about Coady, and we predicted, didn't we, last week or the week before, that the mainstream would start saying, "Oh, when they got rid of Coady, that's when it started going downhill." Another thing that really annoyed me, I think it was Talk Sport, Simon Jordan, was saying that Bruno Lage shouldn't have got sacked. We've been playing really good football. Isn't it
Graham
really
Souness
annoying?
said that, yeah.
And Graham Souness, it's so annoying, isn't it, when the mainstream pundits get it so wrong because they just see little snippets of highlights and
tell me
they
don't
said
watch
because of the
balls
injuries.
without saying it.
Because the injuries to the strikers, they were like, he's been really harsh, and it just baffles me. And if they keep mentioning Conor Coady was in that team towards the end of last season when we lost God knows how many towards the end.
yeah.
And he was in the team every time and he didn't help us defensively. So if he'd have been in the team now, guess what? We'd have still had a bad start because our defence has been okay. It's our strikers. Conor Coady can't play up front and bag 20 goals a season. So maybe we miss his leadership a little bit. I think that's the only point I'd agree with. But Neves, I think, stepped into the role quite well. And his interview was quite mature as well after the game. I think he's the natural leader, to be honest. Probably not as vocal as Coady, but
it's a good point, isn't it? I think losing that influence on the pitch and then probably Ruddy's presence off the pitch is quite a lot of leadership to lose, I guess. So it all plays a big part, doesn't it? But we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Bayliss don't have any say on that?
Well, no, he's on his phone. He couldn't give half an hour to stop looking at WhatsApp.
What you do? What you texting about? What's important? What's more important than the podcast?
It was a little bit of work thing that I had to just read.
So basically, Bayliss hasn't been here 3 weeks in a row now. Basically,
yeah. So important you couldn't wait 3 minutes.
Names and a betting odd.
Yeah,
the Shanghai Open or something.
Ask me the question. I will.
Do you want Coady to come back or not? Is £4.5 million?
Would you have Coady back, Bayliss?
Well, considering we haven't currently got
centre
backs that we can trust, yes. Yes,
sorry, I completely missed that.
He's on loan. It means he hasn't got to go. If we're only getting £4.5 million, I'd rather have Coady to come in than play Podence at centre back with Johnny and have a combined height of 3'2".
That would look quite funny, though, wouldn't it?
Be like something out of Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
I suppose I've got a question just before we go. I know that everyone seems to have lost interest, even the pundits on this very podcast. But do you any of you actually worried about relegation at the moment? Because it's relegation form.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Really,
especially with our injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not yet particularly, but I think that could change very fast, and that's why they're about to act soon. But I mean, you got to think our players we're too good to go down, aren't we? Really
famous last words, isn't it?
I know it's famous last words.
I think we'll be looking at that Forest game, and if there's nothing that comes of that, then I think it's going to be panic station.
We've got a favourable run-ish, haven't we? Just before the World Cup comes round, so if we don't pick up a few wins in that run, we've really got to get worried.
World Cup could save us, though. That break could really help us, to be honest.
Essentially,
maybe that'll actually be a thing. Let's just get to that and try and not be adrift. If we lose, can you imagine if we lose to Forest though? That oh yeah.
Don't even want to think about it. Perfect. Right. Okay. We'll wrap it up. Hopefully there's a miracle at the weekend. We'll see what happens. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Goodbye.
Dan Bayliss.
Goodbye.
And Jack Williams.
Bye everybody.
And it is a goodbye from me. Goodbye.